All right. Okay, we are starting. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. First, I want to congratulate you all in the audience, whether you're joining us right now in real time or you're viewing this at a later date over YouTube. As you approach graduation in less than a month, it's so exciting. You have less than 3 weeks, which is just crazy how time has flown. So we're continuing our senior week programming today with LinkedIn do's and don'ts. We have Megan Eckhart here today, who will be presenting. And this is just a friendly reminder that right after her presentation wraps up at 1:15, beginning at 1:30 and until 4:30 p.m. today. If you want to stop by 139 Sparks Building and get your free headshot taken, we will be there. It's free. It'll be distributed to you probably within the next 2 weeks or so. So just another way to connect and upgrade your LinkedIn if you need a little bit of a profile refresh. As a reminder, our senior week programming does continue tomorrow with budgeting and life after graduation. You can go to la.psu.edu/commencement for more information. And this is just a friendly reminder to complete your senior survey today. So, as a reminder to everybody here, the presentation will be recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel after its completion. Megan is awesome and she is an expert on this topic. I highly encourage you all to ask questions. I'll be monitoring the chat and the Q&A, so feel free to throw in anything that you want in there throughout the presentation. And with that, I will stop my screen share and hand it over to Megan.
Thanks so much, Lauren. Super excited to be here today. I am going to share my screen. There we go. All right, so making sure everyone can see it. Got the thumbs up from Lauren, so awesome. So I'm going to be, I know this one says LinkedIn workshop, but we're going to talk about like LinkedIn in general and then some do's and don'ts in setting up your profile. But before we jump in, again, congratulations, you've made it. You're seniors, you're graduating, you survived a pandemic, your college career, and now you're going to join the workforce. So congratulations. Coming from a millennial generation, I understand what going through a lot of change means. So congratulations to you all. It's a huge, huge accomplishment. So make sure that you take the time to celebrate and enjoy the accomplishment that you've just completed. So a little bit of information about myself. I am Megan. I am a college recruiter at Geico. I work out of our Fredericksburg, Virginia office. I have been with Geico almost 10 years. My 10-year anniversary will be in June, surprisingly, right around the corner. I've worked in auto sales, I've worked in underwriting, and I've been in human resources in the college recruiting role for about almost 5 years now. So been working very closely with the College of Liberal Arts and Penn State throughout my time here and building some awesome connections. So today we're going to talk about some LinkedIn do's and don'ts. And kind of go over some LinkedIn information. So just want to make sure we're good. Okay. So how often people are using social media. I'm kind of, these first few slides are just going to be kind of some just general knowledge about LinkedIn and social media and why we should be using it. So 4.48 billion people use social media. It's pretty standard if everybody's on social media, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, whatever your platform is, most people are on social media. So more than half of the world's population is on social media, and out of the 4.8 billion, 93% are active users. I think that's where we all fit in, is everybody fits into that active users. I know probably check it on a regular basis, whether we're studying and needing a break from studying or we're walking to and from class or things like that. So everybody fits into social media. So today we're going to talk about how to set your profile up for success so it benefits you while you're on that social media platform. So this is just a nice graphic to have kind of, this is from 2021, what happens in an internet minute, which is pretty crazy when you really look at it. When you look at 28,000 subscribers watching Netflix, it's a lot of people, or 21.1 million text messages sent. It's pretty crazy, versus Snapchat, TikTok, things like that. So just in a minute, this all happens. So imagine what happens in an hour and in a whole day. So social media is very, very important. So it's important for you, the job seeker, to understand how hiring managers and recruiters are using social media. This is super important because in order for us to make sure that your profile is set up correctly or adding things correctly, it's important for us to highlight why we need to do those things. So people like me in college recruiting roles find the right candidates like you. So where do hiring managers and recruiters look? Recruiters make most of their hires through the following networks. 95% on LinkedIn, which is pretty crazy. That's a huge portion of it. Facebook and Twitter, that's a little bit smaller. That number kind of surprises me from time to time. I think Twitter might be a little bit more popular than Facebook these days, but there is a lot more Facebook marketing, career pages, things like that. And then the 23 is other professional websites that you may tend to visit, but LinkedIn is at 95%. So that's where we spend a good portion of our time looking for candidates. So that's just something to remember, that if you want to meet an employer or network with somebody, this is the statistic that's going to show you need to be on LinkedIn. So HR professionals report that social networking websites are efficient in recruiting. So again, these positions are a little bit different than what you guys would be looking for, right? You guys are coming in looking for more entry-level style positions, but I just wanted to give you an idea of kind of what we find on LinkedIn. So the majority of it's going to be directors and managers, non-managerial salaried employees, and executives in upper management. So non-managerial salaried employees could be an entry-level position. It could fall under that category. But a lot of the times that's where a lot of that's going to come from, which also means that these people are active on social media. They're active on LinkedIn, which means you can make genuine connections with them, which is really great to help broaden your network and your expand. So LinkedIn empowers members to connect to opportunities. So connecting, staying informed, and getting hired. So we're going to kind of touch on these a little bit. And then we're going to kind of get into the nitty gritty of like building out a profile and making sure we have what we need in those. So what is the number one activity performed on LinkedIn? I would ask this question, but I know we're recording, so I'm going to answer it for you. And it's viewing member profiles. That is, I can say from experience, that is a good portion of what we spend our weeks doing, is reviewing member profiles, maybe looking at certain qualifications and finding certain people or candidates that meet those profiles or qualifications. So a good portion of that time is spent viewing member profiles. But if your profile is not accurate and up to date, probably not going to look at it, and which means you're missing out on a huge market of people who are actively seeking people or candidates like you. So how and why you should use LinkedIn. It is a digital resume. We all kind of know that at this point. It gives you a chance to research companies. So not only is LinkedIn used as a job seeking tool, it's a research-based tool. So you can look at other people who've worked at that company before, maybe reach out to them, get their thoughts, things like that. Communicate with professionals, which means this is a networking opportunity. It gives you a chance to showcase your skills and goals, always a good opportunity to do that, and find potential candidates, which is what is beneficial to us as employers. So all in all, LinkedIn is very well-rounded in helping anybody that comes onto that platform. So first thing is you want to start by branding yourself. So process of marketing yourself. So I always tell students that when you sit down to make your LinkedIn profile, if you don't already have one, now if you have one, great. This is an opportunity to kind of clean it up and get it ready for graduation and the working world. So start by looking inward, have a clear, coherent understanding of your career goals. What are you looking for? Like, what type of positions are you looking for? I can tell you from personal experience, when I look, when I'm doing the sourcing side of LinkedIn, I do look at the objective statement that are on profiles. And then there's also kind of a statement, an area where you can place like what you're looking for, like the location you're looking to be in and what types of positions you're looking for. I generally like to look at that because that helps me kind of guide whether or not this candidate is a good fit for a certain position, or if I need to move on to the next candidate. So that's super important to kind of have that understanding and making sure we place it in your profile. Articulate your strengths, passions, and specialties. Always a good thing. One of the things I love about LinkedIn is that people can verify your skills and abilities, which I really like. So you can have professors, peers, mentors verifying the skills that you've listed on your LinkedIn profile as a way to kind of say, yes, this person has a very comprehensive understanding of X, Y, and Z, which is really awesome. And then also your profile has to be true to you and what makes you unique and what makes you stand out amongst everybody else. So these are just a few things that you should kind of have in mind when you are putting together your LinkedIn profile. So tips and tricks for a professional social media profile. Obviously, you want to make sure your professional profile is fully filled out. If you don't have your LinkedIn profile done all the way, there's a little status bar at the top of your profile that will tell you you have not completed your profile yet, and your profile is not going to be as marketable to LinkedIn as it could be. So make sure you walk, and LinkedIn's really awesome. It kind of walks you through each of the check marks you need to fill out to get that status bar complete. Be engaging. You never know who's going to be reaching out to you to new opportunities. Yes, all the time. Not only should you be engaging, but you should be checking your LinkedIn on a maybe not daily basis, maybe by every 3 days you're checking it. But a lot of times recruiters will send messages through LinkedIn. And if you're not checking your messages, you're going to miss out on opportunities that you may not even known were available to you, because you may be thinking specifically, I'm going to apply for this job or this area of interest and this one only, but you could be getting messages from other companies about other opportunities that meet their qualifications. And so you want to make sure that you're checking out those opportunities as well. Join groups that are relevant to you and your career path. I think this is super important. I've seen candidates have a ton of it, like they're part of so many groups. I'm like, okay, I understand that we are interested in everything, but what is the most important to you? What groups and interests are most important to you? Because those groups you can become active in, you can comment, message, like post, maybe make connections in there, but we want to make sure we're being very intentional about those connections. Update your profile on a regular basis. It's just like your resume. Anytime anything changes, you should update your resume and your LinkedIn profile. And first and foremost, keep it professional. Always keep it professional. I try to always say keep it exactly what you would want it to be. We don't want to involve anything that you wouldn't want seen on the front page of the newspaper in the morning. That's the best way I can put it. We want to make sure it's professional, but it's also in good taste as well. So this is just kind of a screenshot of the anatomy of a well-branded profile. So we have a great picture. There's no distracting background. Now I do say if you have a background outside, I think that's fine. I think not my LinkedIn profile page, but my work profile picture is of me outside, but it's very simple background. There's nothing crazy happening behind me. And it's professional. You can see who she is. You can understand that this person is who they say they are. It's easy to read. Her name is up there. Be found easily with the descriptive headline, so we understand that Nancy is the co-founder and CEO of this company. She also has a custom profile link, which you can do as well. I think LinkedIn automatically generates one, but you can make one specific to you. She also has essential links to her company, her Twitter, and things like that. So maybe if you're somebody who has a portfolio and things like that, this is where the essential links is where you would list your portfolio as a place for employers to go look and see your work. And then contact information, as well as a summary, and then experience, what you've accomplished. So we're going to kind of delve a little bit into this really quick. I do see there is.
Yep, I was just going to say, Megan, there's a question in the Q&A. So this is actually a really good question. Nicholas was saying, is LinkedIn like other social medias where having more followers lends credibility? If he's just starting to build his connections on LinkedIn and doesn't have many of them, will that make people less likely to connect with or speak with him?
That is a good question. And in my honest opinion and experience, no. More followers doesn't mean more credibility. I think ultimately it's about the connections you're making and being very intentional with those connections. I think I've seen a lot of articles and information about LinkedIn isn't the one where you just accept every single person that sends you a request, or you send a request to every single person you see. It's, you want to be very intentional about who you're connected with and who you're reaching out to be connected with. I think there should be a general interest in both parties wanting to be connected. So I think that's when when you're reaching out to connect with somebody, if you've never met them in person, or, you're reaching out to them to make a connection because you have a general interest in their company, that's when you make that connection request. And in that connection request, you leave a message for the employer or that person saying, hey, I'm graduating college, looking for a full-time position. I've done a lot of research on your company. I'm very interested. I noticed that you, have worked for them in the past or are currently working for them, and I would love to connect and kind of further talk a little bit more about the company. You have to be very intentional about it. So it's okay. I'm going to say this. It's going to be okay to be selective about who you connect with on LinkedIn. I mean, I can say that I don't connect with every single person that sends me a connection request. Now, sometimes being in the role that I'm in, I do get a lot of connection requests, especially after career fairs or events or things like that. But a lot of the times, if I've spoken to a class or I've been in a kind of non-career fair setting, most students that connect with me send me a message within that connection request, and which really helps me because I meet a lot of students, I meet a lot of people all the time. And so it's hard to remember everybody and anybody. So it's really nice when they say, hey, thanks so much for speaking in my class, learned so much, would love to connect with you on LinkedIn just to have you as a connection. Love, sure, yes, I will. Now, there has been times where people have tried to connect with me and I'm not exactly sure who they are, but I'll look at the other people that we're both connected with. And so it could be a new recruiter within the company that I haven't met yet, and they're connecting with me to kind of make that connection. So I'll kind of do a little bit of research on my own to kind of dig to see who they are, and then, making that decision. But LinkedIn's the opportunity where you can be a lot more selective as to who's following and connecting with you. So very good question. Next, so we're going to kind of work our way down the profile page here. This is Gary the Gecko. This is his profile. He needs some work. His profile photo is great. His cover photo, he's got the standard one. I think it's fine. I wouldn't say your cover photo should be nothing. Like, it shouldn't just be like blank. I think you should either use one of the standard ones LinkedIn gives you, or find one that suits your interest. I think right now I just have a Geico Careers one, but I do change mine for certain months, for certain appreciations and things like that as well. So I think your cover photo should not distract from your profile photo, but it should enhance your profile photo or enhance your profile in a very minimalistic type of way. Like I said, Gary's profile picture, it's fine. It's professional. I can see that it's the gecko. I understand him. Next is the headline. This is your professional slogan. Be clear and concise about who you are and what you're looking for. So his headlines, he's a business major and he's a current Geico mascot. So we understand that. So really quick, I have my profile, my LinkedIn pulled up here. And we can kind of take a look at mine. I'm free to share mine with you guys. So this is my profile here. As you can see, I have the hiring banner, my Geico Careers banner. My profile picture is this, is me. And so my tagline is I'm a college recruiter, career matchmaker, hiring driven and innovative business leaders. So you have a well understanding of who I am and what I do. Pretty quickly rounds that out. So that's kind of what you are. Now for as college seniors, you could say, Gary the Gecko, upcoming Penn State alumni, currently looking for a full-time position in X, Y, and Z. Completely fine as well. But there is an opportunity in your summary to have that as well, which I think that's where you should put it. Your headline should be quick and easy. I've partitioned it with lines to kind of make it more segmented, but you can do the same as well. So this is a summary. So be authentic, tell your story, but reiterate your goals and skills. This is going to take a minute to write. You shouldn't write it in 5 seconds. You will need some time to write this. It does take a minute. It is your personal mission statement and what you're going to bring to the company that hires you. So this is Gary. He's I'm that lizard you've heard about. I work for Geico. I'm motivated by crickets and saving you 15% or more on your insurance or less. I'm interested in assisting our hiring team and finding the perfect fit for our positions. Could that be you? So he kind of talks about the books he's written and things like that. We're going to kind of go back and forth between his profile and my profile, just so we have a better opportunity. So you have a better chance of kind of seeing what it looks like. Mine's going to be a little bit different just because of the access that I have, but my summary or my about is kind of pretty standard. I did take some time to write it. It's not as long as Gary's, but it's also enticing, I think, for students to say that, hey, she didn't also plan on working in a career in insurance either, but it's led her to a great career and a great path of success. So when I graduated college, I never thought I'd be working for an insurance company, but almost 10 years later, I found a place where I was able to grow and find my passion. You never know what's out there until you give it a chance. So you're reading a little bit more, you're learning a little bit more about me. I've actually had a lot of students ask me about this, and whether it be an interview or if I've met them in person, they've been like, oh, I've seen your LinkedIn profile. I saw you also graduated with a degree in liberal arts. Can you tell me a little bit more about your path to insurance? So it's also a conversation starter. It's a good way for you if you want to make that connection to somebody you haven't physically personally met yet. Look at their summary, maybe pique their interest. People like to talk about themselves. So pique their interest when you're making that connection request and say, hey, I saw that you have done X, Y, and Z. I'd love to hear more about it, and make a connection to further talk about it. Right? Let's use the things that we know about people to our advantage here. So education, pretty straightforward. You should always use your most recent educational experience first. By now, your high school should no longer be on your LinkedIn. It should be all your college career. And so this is going to be pretty standard, what you graduated with your degree in, if you want to put your GPA on there. If you have a specialized degree and you have research experience or things like that, you can put that here in the education portion as well. Or if you've taken specific classes that may be important for a possible employer to know about, put those classes there as well. It's pretty straightforward with the education. Just want to keep it clear and concise. Experience. This is a snapshot of your resume. You don't have to go into too much detail. However, bear in mind that if you write it, people will read it. This should not be a copy and paste from your resume. It should be more of a higher level recap of what's on your resume. Because most of the time on your LinkedIn, you can attach your resume, or if you end up applying for a position, they're going to ask for your resume anyways. So this should be very high level in a sense that it should not just reiterate or repeat what's on your resume. It should say what's on your resume just in a different way and in a shorter way, if that makes sense. So Gecko, Gary the Gecko. I'll show you guys mine, just so for point of reference. See, so here's my experience. It's a little bit different. I've just kind of, because I've been with the same company for quite some time, I've held different positions. So not going into too much detail, but I'm trying to see it without seeing it, how you guys see it. But so what will happen? So you'll see here. So from 2016 to 2017, I was a fraud underwriter. So I investigated claims and policies for underwriting. Very high level. On my resume, it goes into a lot more detail. There's more bullet points. Now, that doesn't mean that you guys can't go into a 2 to 3 sentence per experience. I definitely recommend that. Mine's just super high level based off just because I've been with Geico for quite some time. And then, recruiting for management development and business leadership summer internship programs for the Fredericksburg office. Again, this is very high level, very specific to Geico. Now, on my resume, it's a lot more detailed, but I would say 2 to 3 sentences per experience. If you want to bullet point out, you can. But again, it needs to be very high level. So this is another thing that you can do with sharing content on LinkedIn. It's a good way to make connections. It's also a good way to be active on LinkedIn, is sharing content. So if you read an article, Laura and I were actually talking about an article I read earlier this morning before you guys jumped in, about what the dress code is going to look like in the business environment now that people are starting to come back to the office. And we were talking about it and I can't find it now, and I should have shared it so it would have been on my profile. But you should be sharing stuff that is of interest to you. I read a lot of different articles about hiring, workforce, what that's going to look like, what other companies are doing, and it's great knowledge to have. Also a good point of reference to go back if you want to share the article with somebody, but it's also kind of helping you build your profile up. And when people see that you've shared an article that they've also liked, now you guys have a common interest and maybe there's a connection that could be made there. So make your updates more active, interactive. So when you share the article or when you share what you want to share, versus just hitting post and moving on, add a blurb and said, oh, this was really great food for thought, just add some verbiage in there that makes, say like, this is why I'm reposting it, hey, it was really good food for thought. I think dress code in the workforce has probably become the next topic of discussion besides working, going back into the office. I think that's going to become a next hot topic. So share that, say, hey, I think this is definitely going to become the next hot topic, food for thought here, and even you can put in the comments, let me know your thoughts. So that way you're starting to gain interaction and traction. Because even though you may not follow somebody or connect with somebody, if you shared an article that they've liked or commented on, it most likely will let you know, like, hey, so-and-so has reposted this, or, things like that. So it's going to give you a chance to make more connections. Always remember this, LinkedIn is for you and not against you. Now, that is if you set your profile up correctly and you are checking it and you are actively using it. If you are not actively using LinkedIn, it's not going to do anything except sit there like a chair that's never, the chair in the corner of your room that never gets used. So making sure that you are actively using it. Your content has to work for you. It has to be specific for you and what makes you unique. You have to share the content that highlights your accomplishments. Maybe there was an article written about you. Maybe you've just done research and you've been published in a research magazine or things like that. Share that information. LinkedIn is a chance for you to boast about all of your accomplishments that you've done in college. And then some. So share those. People, one of the things I love recently is that LinkedIn has come up with the opportunity to give kudos to your team members. And so I'll get a notification that's like, hey, do you want to give so-and-so some shout outs? And I'm like, yeah, actually I do. And it'll give you the option of different graphics and what to, give them a shout out for. So it's really enticing you to be more interactive. So share your highlights, because when you do that, builds your network and builds your confidence that you get to share that. And people are going to comment and say, congratulations, and other accolades that they want to express to you. So it's definitely a great platform. on the flip side, I have seen it to where it works out, unfortunately, where people have, recently been laid off, or during COVID, they lost their job and things like that. And they go right to LinkedIn and say, hey, I need help. It is a huge network. Those posts generally have hundreds of comments on them about people that are like, hey, I'm going to put you in touch with somebody. I'm going to connect you with somebody else. But those people that are doing that are constantly active on LinkedIn. They're making it work for them while they are, out running errands, right? It's working for them when they're not working itself. This is probably a given, but take down or secure any potential problematic content. Again, you need to keep it professional. If it's not something you would discuss in the workplace, it's probably something you shouldn't post or discuss on LinkedIn. Now, does everybody follow this rule? No. I've seen tons of different posts and articles about all different topics. And I think some topics are definitely worth talking about. And some people, like to share that, and I understand that. So just making sure that if you are interacting in those type of posts and things like that, you're keeping it very professional, and things like this. And then making sure your content is consistent and professional. There's a common thread here, professional and consistent, if you haven't picked that up yet. But you don't want to go really hard and heavy posting on LinkedIn for a month and then just fall off the face of the earth for 3 months and then come back to it. You want to make sure that you're consistently checking in with LinkedIn and consistently posting. My kind of rule of thumb, especially for me, I like to check it every day. I generally have to be in it every day, but I generally like to look at LinkedIn. I love reading the articles on the side. These ones right here. If we go to our homepage, these LinkedIn news articles right here, there's just a lot of great information, kind of about the workforce, what's going on in the world, some random fun stuff in here from time to time, but this also gives you a really good chance to kind of catch up on what's going on in the professional world, because we don't always have our ear to the professional world, given our certain situations. So it's nice to kind of have these. And then, I kind of like to look and see what people have posted or what other articles they may have posted as well. So definitely always helpful to make sure that you're staying consistent. Maybe you set a schedule for yourself, or you say, hey, I'm gonna only check my LinkedIn's on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's fine. Maybe you check it for an hour. That's fine, but you need to be consistent with it. The art of connecting. We've kind of touched on this a little bit, but you need to make it a habit. You probably should connect with people, but be very, very intentional with your connections. We kind of did touch on this a little bit earlier, but customizing your requests. Now, if you're just connecting with somebody you just met, like literally 5 seconds, you just met them and you're sending them a connection request, do you need to send a personal message? Probably not. But if you're connecting with somebody 24 hours, 8 hours, if there has been time passed between when you and the person have met, there probably should be a message in the connection request, especially just to remind the person that, they may have it may have been a networking day, and they may have been at multiple networking events and they've met multiple people. So they probably have a lot of connection requests, but if you're the one that has the message in it amongst everybody else that doesn't, it's going to go a lot further, and it shows you actually took the time to send that connection request. I always recommend that if you did talk to somebody and you are making a request for connection requests, that you put something personal in there that you two both have discussed. And it doesn't have to be like a synopsis of what you guys talked about. It can just be kind of, hey, it was great talking to you about, your office or the Fredericksburg area or the internship. But just one thing that you two discuss that's going to, help the person you're connecting with remember that you are the person they chatted with about this topic. But then it also shows that you remembered that conversation, that connection. Following companies, I think that's super important. Going on LinkedIn, researching companies. If you like a whole bunch of companies, follow a whole bunch of companies. I think that's fine, to kind of see what they're posting, what they're talking about, what's going on, because maybe you're on the fence about 3 or 4 companies about maybe applying or job offers, and you go on LinkedIn and you see they're not very active, or they're not really posting, or what they're posting you're not really liking, and then that's going to kind of help you make your decision a little bit more. we've kind of discussed this as well as joining relevant groups. Always make sure that you're very intentional with joining the groups. We just don't want to join any and all groups, but very specific. And again, don't be idle. You have to be active to make it work for you. Again, the common thread here, don't be passive, be engaged, always be engaged. Like I said, you don't have to be engaged 24/7 all the time like you would be with other social media websites. But I think you do need to be engaged on a weekly basis, maybe, yeah, weekly. I mean, you could go monthly, but being college seniors, if you don't already have a job, you might want to be weekly. So we're checking our messages and seeing what else is out there as well. Again, this is a lot of the information is repetitive. And the reason it's repetitive is because it's important. I wouldn't repeat it if it wasn't necessary. So 6 tips for landing a job via social media. Obviously, we've talked about creating relevant profiles, networking, being engaged. Don't just be a taker. You don't want to be that person that just sits in the group chat and watches the whole conversation happen, but you don't contribute to the group chat. I think we've all been there at that point in time in that conversation, but LinkedIn is not, you can sit there and just kind of feel it out and see what it's like first before diving in. I think that's completely fine. But when you're ready to kind of make sure that you're not just taking the information that's given to you, but you're reaching out to companies, you're making connections, you're actively posting, you're, updating information on your profile. You're not just sitting there taking messages from recruiters, not responding back, or, you're taking all these connection requests, but you're not making any connection requests and things like that. Search for jobs and make a plan. I think jobs, a lot of employers or companies rely on LinkedIn to post their jobs amongst other job board opportunities, but LinkedIn might be the first one to hear about it. That position may go up live on a job board or maybe on Nittany Lion Careers tomorrow, but it's on LinkedIn today. So LinkedIn might be the first one to hear about it. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities there. And then make a plan. Like, how do you want LinkedIn to work for you? Do I want it to just be a place of platform where I network and I, communicate with my peers? Or do I want it to be a place where I find a job? Or do I want it to be a place of source of information where I'm sharing, kind of just have an active presence and just kind of seeing what it's like? I think you have to make that decision for yourself. Especially if you already have a job offer or a job coming up, maybe you use this opportunity to network with people that you're potentially going to be working with, and sending them connection requests or things like that. I think that's definitely possible as well. So that is where we're done with the presentation. So I will leave it open for questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see you guys if you have any questions. But I am leaving it open to questions.
I just wanted to comment on something that you said, Megan, with like being active on LinkedIn and using it as a job search. I know, like, for instance, with me, I'm connected with recruiters. I'm connected with, I follow our office, the Career Enrichment Network, and there are constantly different internships and job postings that are going up, and I'll re-share them on LinkedIn. So, to everybody who's here, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I encourage you to connect with Megan on LinkedIn. I also encourage you to follow our office's LinkedIn, because like I said, we constantly have those different job postings up. I think the statistic that I most recently heard was 85% of jobs are filled through networking, and LinkedIn is a part of that networking. So it's definitely an important tool to use. And I think that Megan, you did such a wonderful job hitting on all the points of like remaining engaged, and especially with the profiles. The only other thing that I wanted to add is that if you're not sure where to start, even after what Megan went through today, or if you have follow-up questions, make an appointment with me or another career coach in our office, and we're more than happy to review your LinkedIn profile with you. I do those LinkedIn profile reviews all the time, just to make sure that it's kind of up to date, and because I know that it's kind of like doing your resume for the first time, right? You might not know exactly like what you want to include or how you want to say things, so we're definitely here to help. But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right, I don't see any questions coming in. I'm going to pop my email address into the chat for everybody. If you have any follow-up questions, please let me know. I know I'm a processor and sometimes I like to think about like some questions that I might have afterward, but Megan, thank you so much for all of your wonderful expertise on this area. I very much appreciate everything. So.
I appreciate you guys as well. And thank you so much for letting me speak to your seniors. And once again, congratulations, guys. You did it. You're there. You're almost there. You're at the finish line is in sight, and just celebrate it as much as you can. It goes by, I think Laura and I would both say it goes by way too fast.
Yeah.
And so enjoy the moments that you have in graduation because it's awesome.
For sure. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Megan. I'm sure that I will see you soon, and good luck, everybody. Let us know if you need anything. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.